welcome to our second recap of our Build conference here in San Francisco. So we're going to cover what was announced in the Day 2 keynote, and today's keynote was mainly about first some Xamarin announcements, then moved into Azure, and then finally there was some nice announcements and feature overviews of Office and how you can use Office as a platform. So looking at Xamarin, we had Miguel de Icaza on stage, which was nice after the announcements of a couple of weeks ago, where we acquired Xamarin inside of Microsoft. And one of the key features that really impressed me, and it relates back to yesterday's announcements or yesterday's message, where we wanted to have Windows basically be your ultimate developer box, is that you can now have a simulator for iOS on Windows. Yeah, where previously you had to have a Mac alongside your developer machine, you can now do so from Visual Studio, connect into that simulator. So very nice indeed. Now, taking one step further, so you've developed your cross-platform app with Xamarin. Of course, you need to test it. And there we saw, again, great announcements, some really nice demos from Miguel, showing us the test recorder. So how can you easily record your tests of your mobile application? Once you've done so, once you've recorded your tests, of course you need to run them. And for that, there is the Xamarin Test Cloud. Xamarin Test Cloud allowing you to test your mobile application on a large range of mobile devices. And the nice thing, which they demonstrated in the keynote, was that you can actually see videos of your application running on the various devices that your mobile application is running on. So still have the functionality of running your tests in the cloud, but still have that local visibility of the results running on those devices. So Xamarin Test Cloud, Xamarin Test Recorder, really nice when looking at the testing component of your mobile development phase. Now, if you got your test defined, more and more you start doing development in a continuous integration and release management pipeline. So there again, together with Visual Studio Team Services, we can now integrate Xamarin Test Cloud and the features that we have within Hockey App to really have an end-to-end mobile development pipeline from development, building your application, deploying it, testing, all the way to getting feedback about crash reports through the Hockey App integration inside of Visual Studio Team Services. So really nice end-to-end experience for mobile development. So that kind of, we thought, wrapped up the Xamarin story. But then came the massive announcement that after the acquirement of the acquisition of Xamarin inside of Microsoft, from now on, Xamarin will be free for all Visual Studio customers. And that includes not only the paying versions of Visual Studio, but also the Visual Studio Community Edition. So from now on, you'll have Xamarin available for you for free, together with your free version of Visual Studio. The next big topic was Azure. The Azure platform, what we announced this morning in the keynote was first a number of new services, one of which was Azure Functions. So what are Azure Functions? It's basically a way to have serverless computing in Azure. So instead of spinning up a virtual machine or an Azure website and run your application logic on it, you can take your application logic, whether it's written in C# or Node.js, and just deploy it into Azure, and Azure will do whatever it needs to do to run your application logic. So you don't have any notions of servers anymore in that respect. What is also nice is that you can trigger those functionality, that application functionality, through different ways of events that are happening within Azure. Whether it's some HTTP request that comes in, or there is an object landing in Azure Storage, that will trigger your application logic, your Azure function. So really nice feature there. Really an open feature for you to work with. Basically, it's the ultimate PaaS solution. So next to that, next to this new service that we announced, there was also some updates to existing services that went generally available. So the first one, and it kind of ties into the whole microservices concept, is first off, how do you run your microservices? You can either run them on virtual machines, so take care of your virtual machines yourself, And one way to kind of scale out your virtual machines in an easy and a large scale way is by using virtual machine scale sets. So you take one machine and you just scale it up in as many instances as you want. Now, end-to-end microservices solution that we have in Azure is the Azure Service Fabric. So Azure Service Fabric is really a package solution for running microservices on the Azure platform. And again, Azure Service Fabric, as of today, went generally available. So it's ready there for you to use in your applications in a production mode. Now, final announcement that was made in the context of Azure and cloud computing was Power BI related. And then specifically, so you may know Power BI already by going to powerbi.com and run your reports in the browser. What is really nice is now with the Power BI embedded offering, so the service that you have in Azure, is that you can now embed Power BI inside of your websites or your applications. So it's really taking all of the richness of reporting that you get with Power BI, the visualizations, all of those nice reporting capabilities, and really embed them in your application without your user having to know that there is Power BI behind the scenes. So you get a rich experience, all thanks to Power BI. That should be topic 2. No, still have DocumentDB. You're fine? Okay, just going to think how I'm going to make. What?
You're saying Power BI, but finally.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
By the way, when you're talking, you can see your phone, so it's like you're explaining it with your phone.
Is that?
It's not a problem.
That's no problem? Okay.
It's really fine.
Okay.
No, in case you didn't realize that you were doing it.
No, okay. Yeah, yes, I was kind of moving and I wasn't aware.
If you have it at the moment and it's below the screen,
Now it's.
if you go up, there it's there.
There it's visible. Okay. Okay.
There it's on.
Okay. I'll try to not have it too much on the screen. Yeah. Okay. And finally, an announcement that kind of went somewhat under the radar, to my opinion, is related to DocumentDB. So first off, there were some announcement, new pricing models that become available with DocumentDB. But one announcement that I really liked was being able to connect to DocumentDB using MongoDB APIs. So you can actually swap out MongoDB and put DocumentDB in place. And as a consequence of that, so we had the announcement of Parse not being available anymore. You can now take an existing Parse application that is using MongoDB behind the scenes and just move it to Azure and swap it in with DocumentDB instead of MongoDB. So also, tools that you want to use for connecting to MongoDB, they will now be able to connect to your DocumentDB instance as well, because we're using the same APIs as you would for MongoDB. So very nice. So a whole range of changes, new services that are coming available in Azure. So that's the second segment. The final topic of today's keynote was linked to the Office platform, presented to you by Shi Lu. And he brought us basically an overview of how you can leverage the Office platform and basically what the developer opportunity for Office is as a platform for you as a developer. You may not be aware, but Office is being used, all different SKUs of Office are being used by 1.2 billion users globally, which kind of gives you a lot of opportunity for you to integrate with as a platform in your applications. So there's basically 3 main ways to integrate with Office. And the first one is linked to the Office graph. So how can you leverage items, objects that are sitting in Office 365, whether it's people, whether it's calendars, whether it's mails, all of those objects that are sitting in Office and Office 365, how can you take that information and leverage that inside of your application? And all of that is being exposed to you through a unified API, which is called the Microsoft Graph. So you have one single endpoint, one unified endpoint to APIs and SDKs that exist for getting that information out of Office into your application or interact with. Let's say, for example, you want to create meeting invites. You can do so by using that unified endpoint. So this is one way to integrate with Office. A second way is basically taking your application logic and integrate it inside of the Office applications, such as Excel or Word, Outlook or PowerPoint, and get your application functionality in there by means of add-ins. So whether it's a custom task pane that you add to, for example, Word, or it's adding buttons or functionality to the ribbon. So that's the second way where you can integrate your application inside of Office. So it will show up, and basically you will be publishing your application logic through the Office store. So you get visibility, discoverability for users to have your application logic embedded inside of the Office applications. And the nice thing is, those add-ins, they will go across different platforms. So whether it's running Office in Windows, whether it's using the Office web apps, and also announced now Office 2016 for Mac will now also support the add-ins. So you get an extra entry to your users using Office. And the final way of integrating with Office, the Office platform, is something that related to yesterday's announcement by Satya. Is tying into what we call conversation as a platform. So how can we leverage basically conversations in your application logic? There's basically two ways there. You can take Skype and the Skype for Business APIs, which are now generally available. So you can take the SDK for Skype for Business and have the SDK for mobile, but just as well for web. So you can take web applications, mobile applications, and start embedding that functionality of Skype for Business inside of your application. The second item there, inside of conversations as a platform, is the general availability of Office 365 group connectors. So how can we connect to third-party services, such as, for example, Stack Overflow, and react on events happening in those third-party services, connect them to your application logic, and react upon them. So again, integrating, creating rich conversations that span your own application logic, but also third-party events happening in third-party services. So that wraps up our recap of today's keynotes and announcements that were made. Fully packed again, with a lot of features, a lot of announcements. For more information, keep following us on Twitter using the hashtag Belgians@Build. For recordings, live streaming of sessions that are happening right now, just go to channel 9, and I hope to see you tomorrow.